Hey everybody, welcome back to another Papa Tikyo Reacts. Konnichiwa. My name's Tkyosam, Papa Tikyo. I've been in Japan for almost 20 years. Speak, read, and write fluent Japanese. I love Japan. I love being here. I love anime. I love Pokemon. And more than anything, I love watching videos about Japan when I can react to them. So I don't really watch a lot of reaction videos, I don't watch a lot of Japan videos because I live here, but recently I was like, hey, I would like to get into this, but I want to be efficient about it, so why don't we just record those reactions and let's put them out there. And today I'm watching a very cool Takashi from Japan interview that's called "I Will Never Go Back to the US, Living in Japan for Americans," and he's interviewing my one of my favorite guys here in Japan, Mr. Nikuni-chan, who's super fluent in Japanese. And anyway, yeah, let's get into it, shall we? Boom. Okay, let's hear what they got to say. This is gonna be a long one, so I got my Japanese study notebook here, so I'm gonna study Japanese while I'm listening to this. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? Yeah, buddy.
California. I've been in Japan for 17 years, so a long time.
17
It was 4
years.
o'clock in the morning. Like, I could never do that in America and feel safe.
6'3" black man living in Japan. Like, if the police stop me here and ask to see my, resident card,
I feel better taken care of in Japan. I don't have to worry about going into medical debt. I don't have to worry about getting shot.
Most likely gonna go back to the States. I want to stay, but
You speak Japanese, right?
Oh yes, I'm pretty fluent.
Like, how did you learn? Because you've only been in Japan for 1 year or something, right?
If you're like broke and in America and you've always wanted to come to Japan like I did, I have really good practical advice, so lock in.
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Takashi. So today I'm gonna interview Americans in Japan. What's it like living in Japan for Americans? Okay, let's get started.
Americans.
Which city are you from? How long have you been in Japan? What do you do for a living?
So I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I live in Meguro in Tokyo.
Hey, I've
I have
met
a
this
business
guy
called
before.
Key World that me and my manager run that helps people that want to get to Japan and get their visa and get their businesses set up.
So I was born in Tokyo, but I grew up in Virginia near the DMV area. I'm half Okinawan and half American. I've been living in Tokyo now for about 2 years, and I primarily do modeling.
So I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida. I've been living in
Florida.
Japan for 4 months. I've been traveling here for 7 years. And for business, I run a consulting agency in Tokyo called Hanami Social.
Hi, my name is Emery. I've lived in Japan for 10 years now. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've also lived in Dallas, Texas, and Springfield, Missouri. And I'm a product designer here in Japan.
I am from Norfolk, Virginia, and I am a photographer here in Tokyo and a creative producer. And I have been here for 14 years.
I'm from Oahu, Hawaii.
Hell yeah.
I've been in Japan for about almost 3 years now, and I'm here studying as a student.
I'm
How
from
did he
Oakland,
meet all
California.
these people?
I've been in Japan for
Nick.
17 years, so a long time. And
Best
I
bass dad ever.
do comedy. I do YouTube and social media and stuff like that.
For Japanese audience.
Yep, only for Japanese people. No,
Speaking Japanese.
speaking in Japanese, Americans or English speakers won't get anything that I say, so.
What brought you to Japan, and how difficult was moving to Japan?
So I always wanted to live in Japan since I was a little kid, and I wanted to speak Japanese perfectly. But moving to Japan was relatively easy. I wanted to get here as soon as possible, so what I did was I signed up for like a cheap student visa, which can be extended up to 2 years, and came here 4 months
Smart.
ago.
Coming to Japan was a long process. I mean, I've been here a few times, and every time I was hoping to just get here and find a job and get a visa, but it's not that simple. Another big challenge was the fact that I didn't have a college degree, and that's what a lot of employers are looking for. So it took a while to get to this point, but yeah, that was one of the harder things.
How did you make it this time?
So one, during COVID, I knew I wasn't going to come to Japan because, there was no people coming in and out of Japan. So I decided to get my degree in digital cinematography just for the hopes of getting my visa. So that's the reason why I'm able to get my visa this time.
I decided to look for employment over here, and I got a job as an English teacher. The JET program is the Japanese English Teaching Program. It's a private program sanctioned by the government, I think. If
Well, he has it in the corner.
Official,
Tulsa,
right?
Oklahoma,
You got to
10
have a
years.
degree,
Okay.
but it's also before there was less ALT private companies. Basically, being in the JET program was like the golden opportunity and the highest pay.
Yeah, Jet
So
sucks.
many people would apply, you have to write an essay, you have to go through multiple
got
like
rejected from
interviews and
JET.
things too. You have to show up usually outside of your city to interview in person as well on a panel of 3 judges, and the interview is quite serious. So that's why it's extremely competitive. So if you get into JET, amazing. If you don't, that's cool too. There's plenty of other opportunities to get into Japan.
Moving here was actually fairly easy after I did the research and figured out how other people had gone through the process of getting here. I reached out to a friend who connected me with an American who was teaching at something called a eikaiwa.
What is it?
And an eikaiwa basically is a English conversation school that many Japanese people will go to. They're usually near like a train station.
It's everywhere, yeah.
It's everywhere. Yeah, it's very, very common here.
It was really easy because if you try to get a normal
Nick.
apartment, they're not going to let you get one because they don't trust, not just foreigners, they just don't trust anybody. But if you go to a place that's like made for foreigners, it's kind of cheap and it's not that hard to get. So, and you guys could all get it really easily.
You came here as a student first, right?
Yep, came here as a student, studied a year abroad first. It was an amazing experience and I never really came back to the States.
I have citizenship here, so I don't need to worry about visa, so I think I really
she's
lucked out
probably
on
half
that end.
Japanese.
It was really difficult when it came to finding an apartment, getting bank accounts and all of that, so that was a really big surprise. I expected it to be a lot smoother than it was.
Wait, but you have Japanese passport and you speak Japanese, but it was hard because why?
Just because I didn't have a history of like living here, and when I came here, I still had not found a job. So on paper, I looked kind of sketchy, like I was 22, no job. I did have a bachelor's degree from the States, but in general, I think it was just really difficult for me to be taken seriously as someone that's like trying to make a living here.
When you moved to Japan, what was the first culture shock?
Wait. So she... Wait, I understand. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe bank stuff has changed, but like, you know, I thought it was normal for people that are coming here if they don't have a job to like live at a guest house or something and then get an apartment. So is she saying that she tried to get an apartment without a job? Yeah, dude, that's pretty tough. Like, that's tough for anybody. So, yeah, I'm guessing her like parents supported her or something. That's all right. That's cool. Let's keep going.
That you have as American.
It is super safe here. Like I moved here from New
Yeah,
York City.
super safe.
And it's like super safe. Like I remember like going to like a coffee shop and I saw someone leave their keitai, or like their cell phone on the table and leave and no one touched it. And I, would see people with their computers like leave and go to the bathroom or go outside and talk on the phone or something and come back and nobody really bothers your stuff. And at night, it's super safe for women to walk home alone. I noticed that a lot. Like I'd walk home at like 2 or 3 in the morning and I'd see women alone. Right. Also, is in New York, you can't really drink that much and pass out. But people here, if you see someone passed out or sleep in public, nobody's touching their watch. Right. No one's touching their expensive
no
bag.
One's stealing
like
shit
it's
from people.
Super safe.
Compared to the rest of Japan, it's, big city, lots of people, and yet so many people, but everyone is kind of in their own lane, not really trying to socialize until you're in that environment. But in other countries, you can just anywhere kind of just spark a conversation. But it's also possible here, but the
guy's
feeling is a
style
little bit
kicks
different
ass.
with people
Look
that
at him.
really don't want to interact.
I
Make
love
it clear.
the blue and yellow.
Especially
It's
for
very
Americans,
Vegeta.
I think. Because when I went to the States for the first time, like I was so shocked that people started talking on the street.
Yeah.
And that never happened in Japan. So,
Yeah, that's why it's a big difference coming here and then having people that are like very close and like maybe you have some fashion thing that they might want to comment on, but they just won't say anything.
I think how annual holidays are celebrated, for example, Christmas. Well, Halloween's different too, but especially Christmas is very different than maybe, for example, the religious aspects taken out of it, as well as the family aspect. It's more for couples. So it's kind of like a pre-Valentine's Day event. So,
yeah, that's true. You know the word kuribochi? Can you explain kuribochi?
So kuribochi, basically, I've seen many restaurants and cafes saying, oh, if you're a couple, don't come in here. It's only really made for single people on Christmas. So, like, you're not making them feel worse about themselves. So it's kind of a safe space for single people on Christmas. I've seen that. I've seen that.
Japanese guys will pay to go to bars just to talk to girls. Now it's totally
Yep.
normal for me, but like, imagine going to a bar to pay to talk to somebody when you could just
Yeah,
go to
it's
a
so
bar and not
stupid.
pay and talk to somebody.
Why do you think it does exist here?
I think it's a good way to like bond with you. I guess your male, your coworkers. It's just a way to have a meeting and write off a meeting. And if you go to an expensive place, the girls are like,
Oh, I didn't actually think about it like that. I've never thought about it like that. Do Japanese people actually do that? They'll go to like a girls' bar, and then they'll write that off as a meeting for their company to reimburse them. That's fucking cool. Okay, I never thought about doing that. Like that's smart.
literally talented. Sorry, I said literally. That's such a stupid word to say. They're really talented. Like, they're really good at speaking. Like, if you go to Ginza, that's their job. All they do is speak every day. So it's like a pretty entertaining thing. I don't go, but I have been.
I was really surprised how different relationships are here. My impression is that like everyone cheats. I think that's not the case in America. But when you ask Japanese people like, have you ever cheated before? They'll go like, no, never. And if you ask them again, they'll be like,
love cheating.
1回だけ, just once. And then you ask them again, they'll be like, 10回だけ, just 10 times.
I assume you have lots
That's
of
a little
Japanese
bit
friends and stuff.
exaggeration.
Do you think it's actually true, or what do you think? Like, is that misconception? Or?
I definitely have Japanese friends that don't cheat, but it's hard to know whether they're telling the truth too. But I think there are loyal people here, but there's also like the fuzoku and things like that, which like whether that's cheating or not is a debate among Japanese people. I'm sure you've seen.
What about your friends? What do they say about is that prostitution kind of cheating or?
I think girls usually will say like if it's for business, it's common that like business people will go there with like senpai, for example. That's okay, but if you go by yourself, then it's cheating.
When it comes to the lifestyle, how different is in Japan and the United States?
I think one of the biggest differences here is the size of my apartment. The living spaces are
Yeah.
quite small here, especially if you live like in the inner city, like here in Shibuya. In New York City, my apartment
in
was a little
Shibuya?
bit older,
Nice.
but I'm like 6'3", right? I'm quite tall for Japan. So some of the initial apartments I lived in, I had to like duck to get into the apartment, or I had to duck to get in
Yeah,
from
dude, that must be
the
tough.
living space into the bathroom. Fortunately, now I live in a pretty modern space, so I don't have to duck, but I think one of the biggest challenges here was my height. As sort of like a 6'3" black man living in Japan, I never really have to worry about people being really afraid of me, or I feel kind of safe, especially with the police. Like if the police stop me here and ask to see my, resident card, I have no fear. I just take it out and show it to them. But if the police were to stop me in New York City or stop me in Virginia, I have a sense of anxiety
Yeah.
and fear
Yeah, I know exactly
of
what
the
you're
threat
talking
of
about.
violence. And that does not exist here.
Probably commuting is the most different America versus Japan, because especially where I'm from in Oklahoma and Texas, we're very vehicle reliant. So like we use our car for everything. We sit in traffic for hours in the weeks commuting back and forth to work. But like, in Japan, we're either remote work now or we're on the commuter trains. So, and you have to walk a lot. My friends coming to Japan to visit from America, I can hear them like we're walking around a little bit. It's a lot of walking. So I'm like, I forget we use our cars to travel everywhere. So yeah, I think.
That is pretty funny.
So just like the daily aspect of walking so much.
Yeah.
I would say in general, it's really, really different. Just my daily life is very different. I lived by myself since I was 19 in the States, especially during college. I was living in Portland, and I definitely
Portland.
think Japan is a lot safer. So I feel like just the daily stress of like having to go out, even if it's at night, like I don't really stress out that much here. Like for example, I had to, for like a photo shoot, I had to meet at the station at around 5:30, and I didn't have a first train out of my nearest station. So I walked with my luggage for 30 minutes to a different station. and it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Like, I could never do that in America and feel safe. But for me, like,
Damn
as long as
right.
I don't have my headphones in or I feel pretty alert, like, it's not really an issue.
I think Japanese life is much
Damn
more
right.
convenient and it's much cheaper. Like if Americans come to Japan right now, it's like a 30% off Black Friday sale on everything in the country. Food is delicious, people are really friendly, Japanese is fun. It's great. I noticed simple things are different. Like I lived in New York for a little bit and people would just like dance in the subway station and like sing with their headphones on. And that sort of behavior is kind of like frowned upon here. It makes you look a little bit
Kinda.
weird, like you're distracting others.
Kinda, yeah. Japan is safe. Japan is cheap, good quality. They don't allow crazy people to be all fucking crazy and not be held accountable. It's like people who harass people or violently try to hurt people get like thrown in jail and like actually like in trouble. I don't know. It's now Trump's America though, so let's hopefully he'll put things in, change things up, right? Let's get back into it.
But I kind of missed that a little bit. I want to be weird, but I don't know. I feel like it's not good.
Yeah, say in the States you want to switch one of your foods for another food or get something out, you can do it. In
Yep.
Japan, they get like, wait, what? You want to, you know what I mean? Or this is something that happened the other day. Like, say they had whipped cream pancakes last month, but do you have whipped cream pancakes? And they'll say, no, we don't have whipped cream pancakes this month. And you'll be like, well, there's whipped cream on the cake there. Can you put the whipped cream from the cake on the pancakes? And they'll be like,
Yep.
no. So what you do is you say, can I have the whipped cream cake, but without the cake? Just the whipped cream and the pancakes, and just put the whipped cream on the pancake. Wakaru.
No,
Yeah, they do that. They do that for the money. Like, if you guys ever saw that Jack Nicholson clip where he's like, I just want a chicken toasted sandwich or something, and they're like, we don't have that, and he's like, just take all the different items and put them together. I'll pay and then it's like, basically, I think Japan is saying, we don't do that. You can mix it, but you got to pay for the shit separately, and then we'll put it together because our system is set up so we don't have like a random like item order selection menu. Like everything's set for when we like do the total charge or something at the end of the night to count how much money we have. So we can't do all these elective changes. But if you buy the stuff separately, then it's like, oh, I want the cake without whipped cream. Then you're still paying for the cake, so it's fine. So it's like it's their way of just getting more money and less stress. And I don't care. I'm so used to it now. I don't really give a shit. And I think if that's like a problem with you, like if you come to Japan, you're like, I can't customize my order, then like you came to the wrong fucking neighborhood. It's like that meme with Shaggy, right? Scooby-Doo, you came to the wrong motherfucking neighborhood, motherfucker. Anyway, let's get back into it.
no flexible.
So not flexible. You kind of have to work around it.
I think the biggest difference in mindset between sort of like an American mindset and a Japanese mindset, to be very general, is Americans are focused on individualism.
Right.
And I feel like Japanese society is focused on collectivism. Like, Americans are socialized to think, what is best for me? What do I want to do for me? Where do I want to go? What
this
do I
guy's
like?
right on the money,
Whereas I
dude.
feel like in Japanese culture, there's a focus on, I don't know how to say it, it's like wa culture. There's a focus on like the group
Yeah, focus on
and
the
what's best for
harmony.
the group and how the group can come together and form a synergy for the group to move forward.
Right.
Whereas in the US, I feel like it's like, how can I move forward? Not my whole squad or group.
When you say you're from the United States, how do Japanese people react? What's their general impression?
So I think I have to like explain, not to Americans, but to people outside America, that America is so big. We're so many cultures inside of this big landmass. And not just Japanese, but when anyone who's non-American thinks of America, you think of cowboys, or you think of the West Coast style,
Yeah.
or you think of maybe New York City and like New Yorkers. But yeah, I think it's that kind of image of like, oh, do you have guns? Do you shoot? Are you like this, that? Yeah, the guns question a lot.
Have you ever seen the movie Rush Hour with Jackie Chan? They think you're Chris Tucker. You know, they think you're like super overreactive. Like if you eat
Funny guy.
sushi,
Yeah.
oh, sushi, it's so good. Wow, I really like the sushi. It's so
Exaggerating.
so exaggerating. Like they think that foreigners are really energetic and stuff. But you know, there's all different types of Japanese people, and there's all different types of non-Japanese people.
What I want to say is that I think especially Americans living in Japan, I think they're more like, tend to be like, in general, introverted, compared to like, Americans in America. I think because that's why they suit their personality to Japan, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I mean, a lot of nerds like Japan because they like anime, they like that type of culture.
I love anime.
So
I love Pokemon.
It's really good for you if you come here. Like, it's an easy country to be an introvert.
One thing that stands out for me is Japan seems so safe. On the other end, Japanese people think of America as not safe. So some people are actually worried about coming here because of the gun violence that's going on in the U.S. So that was the biggest thing that people always mention when they come to talk to me about the States.
I think general impression that I think we all agree that Japanese people like the States. Japanese people kind of fantasize at the same time, but from your perspective, many Japanese people recognize the United States is not safe.
Yeah, that's pretty much most people's impression of the U.S. Unless they've already been out of the country. That's usually the impression.
Maybe
America's
that's true because
America is
even
isn't
Japanese
very
media
safe, though.
they show a lot about gun shooting, like how corruption, everything in the States. Maybe that's why.
I've noticed that on the news or on social media in general, that the image of the U.S. is definitely being skewed in a way. But at the same time, in the U.S., when you're on social media, you also see these things. But it's just for the Japanese people to actually like cater it to that system, and it's not all about that, but it is like their main, I don't know. The main quality of the U.S., like this is happening in the U.S., like this crazy stuff happens there, it doesn't happen here.
The impression or reaction I get to someone, it really depends on where their interests lie. For example, I met a friend and her aunt was quite older. I think her aunt was around maybe 65 or 70 years old. And I told her my name was Richard. And she was like, oh, like Richard Gere. Like the old white American actor, Richard Gere. I mentioned to another person
really
that I was from the US, and they're like, you look like Snoop Dogg. And I look nothing like Snoop Dogg. I think it really depends on the person you're talking to and what their kind of connection is to America. But I think most people think when I tell them I'm from New York City, for some reason they're quite impressed. I think New York City is kind of like this sort of, interesting place for Japanese people.
For everyone in the world.
I think it's like, it's amazing.
So when I say
I just want to chime in for a second here. Yeah, so when you do tell people you're from New York City, I mean, Japanese people only know like two places, like Los Angeles and like New York City. They don't really know America as a whole. They know America from movies and like, TikTok, and that's about it and stuff, right? So, but they're like, oh, America's so dangerous. Like they probably think of like New Jack City or something. Like, when they're thinking of like America and New York and hustlers and everything, right? But like that Japanese woman, like older woman saying that guy's, oh, Richard, like Richard Gere, or like the young people be like, you look like Snoop Dogg, you look like Obama or something. I love how that guy is like just taking it with a grain of salt. Like he's just letting it wash off of him. You got to remember that, like, at the end of the day, like, you're in a different country, So, these people that are in the country that you're visiting or you're, like, you're a guest in or whatever, like, you're deciding to live in, they don't have the same nuances and expectations that you have in America. So if you're like, oh, you're a black guy, you look like Snoop Dogg, you can't just get angry at them and be like, you're racist. I'm not, just because I'm black. I like, or like even me, like, when I was when I was an English teacher here at public schools, some of my students, like back then, a new character came out in the video game Tekken called Bobu, and he was just this big fat blonde guy who could fight or whatever. He was in the fighting game, and I remember it would kind of piss me off because I'm like, that guy is like super morbidly obese. That guy's at least 200 pounds bigger than me, but I'd get I'd get offended by it. But now, like, I'm bigger than I was back then, but I don't really give a shit if somebody like calls me fat in like a Japanese situation like that. I mean, of course, if somebody's being a dick during my live stream, like, you're fat, like, yeah, they get blocked because it's my platform. You want to talk shit about me, go somewhere else. But if it's Japanese people saying that, like, I was at my at one of my jobs the other day, and my boss, he's like 80 years old, he's like super old, and he was like, oh, Samson, you're fat, you got to lose some weight. And there's a difference between like giving people shit and just being mean, like just trying to hurt someone with words. And but my new coworker, like he's from America, and he's kind of woke liberal guy kind of thing, and he's like, oh, you can't say that, and I was like, no, like let him say that, like it's not like. I think it's different from where you're coming from, but like when you bring this like hypersensitive, like how dare you, it's ma'am, like when you come into a different culture, especially a different culture, different country with that kind of energy, you're gonna get burnt out really quickly. So it's just like you gotta be open-minded. And if somebody if it's somebody you work with and they're saying things that you don't like, there's nothing wrong with telling them like, hey, that kind of hurts my feelings. Can you not say it? But you got to remember that you're the adult here, and they're not used to being where you're from. So just always try to approach stuff like that with kindness and understanding versus being triggered and like needing to take that anger out on somebody. Because like at the end of the day, like how are you a mature adult versus how are you a child, and it's how you react. A child reacts with emotions, an adult reacts with calmness and logic, and from a place of love and understanding, right? So yeah, anyway, back to the guy. Yep.
Say I'm from Florida, they just say Disney. And when I
Disney.
say I lived in Texas, they say cowboy. But generally, like, their impression is really good of Americans, and they think they're all like beautiful and tall. Not the case. They really like American accents too. It reminds them of all of the media and movies and music and stuff.
That's
How
true.
can I live
That's
in
true.
Japan? How do I find a job there? Any advice for moving to Japan? These are some of the questions that you guys ask me all the time. I keep saying the same thing. Learning Japanese is super important.
Learn Japanese
And
really
yeah, I
important.
get it.
Yeah.
Japanese is very hard. Even I struggle with kanji sometimes. But the easiest way to learn Japanese is with
Easiest way to learn Japanese is to sign up for TokyoSam's Patreon at patreon.com/TokyoSam. That's the way to do it.
Takashi.
Okay.
It's kind of embarrassing.
living
And
in
anyway,
Japan
there
for
you go. Yeah, sorry, I'm stealing your ad. This my ad. I'm the captain now. I'm the captain now. Yeah, guys. Oh God, hold on. I gotta turn on the microphone. Yeah, guys. By the way, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/TokyoSam, where $35 a month you can watch these video lessons that I made. But more importantly, you get access to the secret hidden part of my Discord, where we have a shit ton of resources on learning Japanese. And how do you learn Japanese? With flashcards and with heavy immersion. And it's really that simple. And I learned through a method called AJAT, All Japanese All the Time. And I made my own video series based on explaining that. And we go from basic zero knowledge of Japanese all the way to your first job interview. So if you like my videos and you want to support me and you want to learn how I learn Japanese and, give me cash, the link for that's down below. Anyway, let's get into it. Bush.
years. How do you see the United States as a country? The perspective from outside of the country.
It's kind of embarrassing being American abroad, to
snap.
be honest. I don't know.
Why?
Just like looking at like what other countries are doing, especially like even like sustainable wise. I don't know. I don't think the US is like on par.
Did you have that feeling when you were in the States? Or you started having that feeling after living in Japan?
I think because I've moved so many places before, I've always kind of felt like that. Definitely being in Japan like now definitely like reinforced that view I had.
Being from the South, like the
Yep.
America no Minami, like where I'm from, it goes God, family, country. So being
God,
a patriot
family,
means
country. That's right.
you're also a good Christian. It means like you're also a dedicated person. Like it's really like serious. So like since I've been maybe 4 or 5 years old, we started doing the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. So you've got
Yep, I
these like
remember
little
that.
kids like taking a pledge to a country using words they really don't understand. So like that's something we
great.
don't do in Japan public school. Like we don't do that. And so like other countries, they don't have Pledge of Allegiance to their countries. In Texas they have two.
I love
they
the
have
Pledge
a
of
state
Allegiance.
to Texas, and then they have one to the USA. So like doing that and then constantly hearing that the USA is the best country. You won't find a better country than the USA. This and that. America's the best and we're number one. We're the most free country in the world, But realistically, once you step out of that, once you go live in other places, experience other places, like other places have constitutions, other places have freedoms. Honestly, I feel better taken care of in Japan as
Yep.
even though I'm a non-citizen, I am a working resident, a tax-paying resident of Japan. but I feel better taken care of than a U.S. citizen in America. Because even though I'm American, because I have health insurance in Japan.
Yeah, health insurance.
And I have like, I don't have to worry about going into medical debt. You know, even if I don't speak, fluent Japanese or I'm not Japanese national, it doesn't matter. They'll still take care of you. They'll still, I don't have to worry about getting shot. I don't have to worry about, if my friends' kids or if I'm going to work, as a teacher, if I'm going to run into like a situation where I have to defend my class from
no
like a
school
gunman.
shootings.
And like just seeing that and like having to explain that to my family back home, it makes me really sad because like we get like instilled in us so hard. It becomes, dare I say, brainwashed. No country's perfect.
Yeah.
Japan's not perfect too. And there's a lot that I love about the USA and like my family's still there. But yeah, you just start to really see and reflect on the quality of life is better in other countries.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
Even though we're constantly told we're the best, we're number one. And that's really sad because that's your country. Like, it's disappointing. And it's disappointing that I have to see my friends and family go through this still in America. That's all.
After living here for a while, and then I look back in the States, one thing I think of is I don't really want to go back to live there. I don't really need to. It's a bit of a circus, in my opinion. Like me, I'm not very political, so when I see this political stuff happening, I get very conspiracy theorist about it, about like things that are happening on purpose. Like there's a systematic system of school shootings for a reason. It's not just a natural occurrence, There's stuff like that happening in the States. So it's like a show. It's a circus. That's how.
Dude, this guy, I know him. His name's Mike or something. I ran into him in Golden Guy. I think that's where I met him. Dude, fucking based, dude. I love and the guy's style is awesome. I love it. It reminds me of like a 90s party movie or something, like Can't Hardly Wait or something, dude. This guy's fun. I like him already. Yeah.
Thing of it, and I don't want to participate. So
People are really direct and honest with you all the time. And sort of like American friendships are based on honesty. The people telling each other exactly what they're doing all the time. But Japanese people try to like save face a little bit, or sometimes they try to not say things that they think will upset you. And this can make it difficult to relate to people in a really close way. So I think America's a good place to make friends.
Living in Japan, again, like it's just so much safer, the daily stress of that. And so when I look back on my experiences in America especially, I just don't think that I would feel comfortable moving back. The daily stress of like having to go out and like being careful about time and knowing which routes I want to take, and especially like living in, as a 20s young girl living on my own, that's a really big concern for me. I think especially looking from Japan, America does have a lot of like freedom of expression, and like I think people are allowed to be a lot more open with who they are and express themselves in so many different ways, whereas here I do think sometimes I have to kind of like not tone myself down, but just make sure I'm expressing myself a bit more appropriately.
It's a lot more relaxed. Like in Japan, people are a little bit more thorough with everything that they do. America's more like time is money, let's move, let's move, let's move. And Japan is like, I'm going to wrap your present perfectly, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't mean to be one of those guys who keeps pausing every 5 seconds, but that is true. I like the fact that they're getting at that, like Japan means that you're just not trying to go on autopilot, like you're actually being in the moment, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, like in America, it's like the image is like I gotta walk and talk, I gotta walk and eat, I gotta be on the phone and the toilet. It's just like gotta be constantly on, and it's nice to see Japan makes you kind of slow down, at least in my opinion. And I'm happy that these guys are mentioning it too. Anyway, back to the video.
Like totally different cultures for sure. But I think, America has good points too. But I've been here since I was 19 basically, so I don't know what it's like.
Your whole adulthood was in Japan.
Yeah. My entire adulthood was in Japan, and
I love Nick.
It's easy
Hell
for me
yeah,
to live
dude.
here. I think America, it would take
We're
me,
adulthood bros.
I don't know, maybe a year to get used to living there again. Yeah.
What do you miss about the United States? What do you miss your home country?
Los tacos. Tacos, Mexican food. Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
Nick
From California.
Yeah.
He loves tacos. the first time I met this guy, he took me to a place in Shibuya. For this guy, the Nick guy, he took me to this taco truck in Shibuya, and he's like, dude, I miss a really authentic California tacos. I'm from California. And I was like, these are kind of shit. They're not good. The meat is like cold, and like there's too much fucking, what do you call it, coriander. There's too much Takashii in there, cilantro, too much cilantro. But like this guy loved it, and I was like, dude, give me Tex-Mex with like Chipotle shit anytime. I don't know, but yeah, you can tell he's really authentic California because he's like, I miss los tacos, burritos, Jennifer Lopez. Okay, back into it.
Yeah, from California. In Japón, los tacos son muy caros.
That's it?
They're super. Yeah, nothing American.
Super
just the tacos.
expensive.
Yeah.
Miss the tacos.
Back in the States, I do talk to my friends a lot about like social issues or politics, but
Oh,
I feel
God,
like
yeah,
that's
she
not
probably
really
would.
a priority for a lot of people, at least my age here. And so it's a little bit harder to get into conversations about like misogyny and patriarchy and politics and things like
Oh God, please don't bring that shit over here. Please don't. No.
You like to talk about it.
I do like to talk about it, yeah.
It might be
No.
debatable, but I really miss like being around like Americans as a group. Like if you put politics aside and religion aside, there's something really cool about Americans, and I think we're
America,
just like
yeah.
good-spirited, really fun people, and I think we know how to come together when we need to, and I think that's something really dope about us. So I will say,
Really
like, I don't
dope.
know, I do miss
I love this
Americans.
way
As
this
my
chick
family
talks.
and friends, I miss them. They miss me. But other than that, yeah, I'm good being here, honestly. Like, I will
Yeah,
tell you,
dude.
that my feeling was that I was homesick for Japan while I was living in the U.S. after going there the first time.
Oh.
So I was always ready to come live here because I wanted to come experience it once and say, okay, I could actually live here. And ever since then, I've been wanting to come live here. So now I'm home right now.
Living in Japan for 14 years.
Yeah, dude, love
Can you
Japan.
imagine yourself going back to the States to live there again for a long time?
To be honest with you, the first answer is no.
Yeah,
I feel
no.
very comfortable here. The only thing that I worry about is as my family gets older, I kind of miss the sense of being connected to my family. So I
Yeah.
kind of want to be close to my family, but I also really enjoy my life here. I really appreciate this culture, but sometimes I miss the familiarity of my family.
I really like Japan. I want to live here for a long time. I think as I get better at Japanese, I'll start to like it more, I hope. And if that's the case and business continues to do well, I think I'll stay here.
Rest of your life.
Yeah.
I think it's possible. I just don't know. If I had kids later in life, I'm not sure I would want to raise them here because I think it's too safe.
What do you mean? Isn't it good?
I think if you're raised in a place that's this safe, you can't really live anywhere else. I think that's why Japanese people don't leave very often. It's like once you get used to
It's
that,
true.
everywhere else seems dangerous.
That's so true. Yeah.
Yep,
I mean, that's
yep.
why I think many Japanese people get scammed, picked up,
Yeah.
robbed, maybe in other countries because we don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah,
Yep.
like I've had lots of Japanese friends like get their wallets stolen on the subway in New York and things like that. Like it's just things they don't expect in Japan.
Yeah.
But it sucks because it ruins their vibe of America.
My husband is Japanese, so it really
Yeah, they that is what he brought up such a great point. It's like, yeah, you don't want like I brought this up when I was for all of you guys who don't know, I did a walk and talk video of Nick, the guy who was just talking from California about tacos, and one of the things I mentioned is that like he has kids, and I was like, don't you want them to kind of grow up in America even a little bit so they get a little bit of street smarts? And he's like, why would I want to do that? Like, you know, Japan's the safest country, like one of the safest countries in the world. Like, you know, if they, like I want them to live here, like, you know, for the rest of their life if they want to. And I think it's a special breed, a special kind of Japanese person who wants to go out of their way to leave this place. And the tough ones, they'll tough it out and they'll actually stay abroad. But the ones that like can't handle it, that kind of have like glossy, like, you know, sunglasses on while going out there, they're the ones that are going to be like, this is tough, this shit sucks, this wasn't like the movie, I'm going back to Japan. So, but yeah, at the same time, I mean, the great thing is that if you have money and you raise kids here, you can constantly bring them back to the States. And that's what I would love to do if I had a family here eventually. I'd love to take my kids traveling all around the world and let them see how shitty the rest of the world is so they can appreciate Japan more. And if they want to, they can eventually leave and go exploring too. But anyway, let's get back into it. Yep.
Really depends on his work too.
Yep.
We've discussed like trying America too, and he really loves America. And now that I'm getting older too, in my 30s, that I have to start thinking about family. When you're in your 20s, you don't really think about. You're like, oh, just you come over to Japan to have fun, to just we'll see what happens in the future. But now, once you start getting older and you get married, it's like, okay, you start planning for families. Where do I want to put my kids? There's so many like positive things about being close to my family in America too. And Japan's always my home, but like, it's a tough question. It's still not sure, but for now we're comfortable in Japan.
I see.
I want to stay here for a little bit longer, and then I'm most likely going to go back to the States. I want to stay, but the wage is kind of low.
What about this condition then? Like you can make money in USD, live in Japan.
Oh, I was staying.
Definitely will not live in the United States again.
Yep.
It's too crazy. I don't
Yeah,
even know if I
Nick,
want to live in
based-
Japan. I could just travel around anywhere I want. So,
No, in the States.
I mean, I might travel in the States for 3 months, but I mean, Europe would be kind of fun. Some parts of maybe Singapore would be fun. South America, dude. I want to go to Brazil, Central America, maybe Mexico.
Yeah.
Haven't decided.
Haven't decided, but I don't know if I'd stay here forever either.
At least as of now, I can see myself staying in Japan long term. I think for me, as long as the political climate in America is like the way that it is now, I don't really see myself moving back. I definitely want a family in the future, and so especially for that reason, I think raising them in Japan would be a bit better.
So my original plan was to come stay here, live
That's
here,
right.
make a family here. And then if I want to travel, I can always travel, but I wanted to make
Exactly.
Japan home. So
Exactly.
that's still the
Yes.
case.
Okay.
Yes.
Never changed.
Same
Never
plan.
changed.
Any advice for Americans who want to move to Japan or live in Japan?
Definitely. If you're like broke and in America and you've always wanted to come to Japan like I did, I have really good practical advice to lock in. What you should do is like keep working your boring job for like 3 to 6 months, save up as much as you can, go on Gogo Nihon or some other website and find like a very cheap language school. There's 3 types of language
Yep.
schools.
Yep.
One is just like cheap for a visa. One is
Yep.
like you actually learn. And then
Yep.
the top one is like only Chinese and Korean students that learn Japanese really fast. So choose wisely. Then once you do that, they'll take care of the visa process. You can live here for 2 years. Upon arrival, you'll get free national insurance, or it's very cheap. If you live in like the center of America, you should buy a really cheap flight ticket to like Los Angeles on like
Yeah.
Spirit or Frontier. And then you should take like a $300 direct flight from Los Angeles to Tokyo on like Zip Airlines.
Oh yeah,
that's
that's
what I
what I
was
was gonna say.
Super cheap. Zip Air.
I don't know Zip
The best.
Airlines, but
And,
I know what they're
After
talking
that,
about.
once you're in Japan, just eat like matsuya every day for like $2. It's like
Yep.
a beef
Yes.
rice bowl.
Yes.
And if you want to like meet people, go on Meetup and meet like groups
Yep.
with similar
Yes.
interests. And if
Yes.
you want to drink, just buy soju at the konbini for $1.
Yes.
And there's your whole life, and it's very cheap.
I'm not saying this because
Yeah, dude, fuck yes, dude. That is the same exact fucking advice I gave when I first moved to Japan too. I didn't have any money, and it's just every day was Yoshinoya, which was like 330 yen for like a pork bowl. I'd have that like 2 or 3 times a day, and then and yeah, and just like, well, I didn't do the language school thing like what he's saying, but like just living cheap. Get over here on a cheap ticket, live cheap. And if you, and like meet people, like traveling. Everyone thinks they're just gonna travel and they're having a great time, and people are gonna come up and talk to them, and that they're not gonna have to get out of their bubble at all. I have a lot of you assholes that watch me that think you're gonna do that too. You fucking come to Japan for 2 weeks and you're like, Dad, you want to meet up? And I'm like, no, dude, fuck you. Like, no, like, come on, go have your adventure, go have fun, and like go on Meetup.com, go on Facebook groups or whatever, make some friends. Socialize. That's like one of the best things you can do, and just be cheap while you're here. And you just fucking grab life by the balls, son. Carp the diems. Okay, back. There we
think
go.
you should. Like, I don't even think university is necessary. But if you want to be
Yeah.
in Japan and work a job, even like as a restaurant waiter, they're going to ask for your university if you're a foreigner.
Yeah.
I don't think they ask for that for Japanese people, but I've had friends who had very
There was a
difficult
guy from
experiences
Chile
trying to get a job.
that
The other
was
one
at the
is
guest house that
learn
didn't
some
care.
Japanese
They
before
didn't
you
care
come, and
about
then when
that.
you come, keep learning Japanese, and you'll get good really fast. The other one is be prepared to be treated like a non-Japanese person If
Oh
you're
yeah,
not-
and then just a cue for that. So I lived in the guest house for a while, Nakano Shimbashi guest house, and there were a lot of foreigners that I don't know. I think Corona changed a lot of things, but you can come over here in a language school, and there are plenty of jobs that will fucking now they'll sponsor you, even if you don't have a degree. I don't know if it means if you're American or not, but this guy from Chile that way I knew, and then another dude from Peru. And another guy from France, like they came over here as language school students, and then they found a place where they were a chef, like a specialty chef, even though it's just a regular chef, and they were able to get a visa sponsorship. So I think in 2024 it's a little bit different, but you got to put in the legwork to find it. But it is there. The option is there. Anyway, here, let's keep going.
not Japanese.
Okay, so that's what people say all the time, right? Like they treat you as a foreigner, no matter how long you live in Japan, stuff like that. Like, what do you think? What's your impression?
You'll never be treated as a Japanese person, but you can use that to your advantage really well. So a negative person will be like, oh, and like a positive person will be like, shit. They get mad at all the Japanese guys, but they never get mad at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So depending on how you look at it, like,
It's
you know,
great.
and I think I've been here long enough and I speak the language fluently, so I can make friends and stuff. But I think it's cool to have like a Japanese side and an American side.
Definitely
It is
come
true.
with a plan and be realistic. I think whether you want to come over to be an English teacher or maybe you want to just come to be an English teacher at first and then transition into something more permanent, you have to have a plan. Whether that
Yes.
means getting up on the language as soon as possible, you do need to be a native Japanese speaker for a lot of jobs here still. That's the truth. Like that'll help you way easier if you get it, like start building your Japanese now.
But I would say there are tons of resources here, especially now.
Right.
14 years ago, there were less, but right now they have like a digital nomad visa for 6 months. Here in Shibuya, they have like a one-stop business center for like an entrepreneur visa. There are many resources for you to come here. You just have to realize that it's possible and do some research.
My biggest advice is come here one time first and experience it and then make a decision after that. Just come straight here and try and live here. It's not going to go very smoothly for you. You got to understand systems. You got to understand the rail system. You got to find someone that can maybe help you with like logistical things like my company would do. So I would say come here, make some connections, make some friends, stay for at least 2 weeks if you can. I know you might have work, you might can only stay for a week, but a week's even good. I would say come visit first.
Do you have any American friends who came to Japan and they thought that Japan is not for them?
I can't say I have anyone that's like that. Any friend of mine that has come here has been
like that,
pleasantly
off the top of my head.
surprised and has started consider living here rather than not living here. So I haven't had like the negative impression side of the opinion on my end.
Good to know. Thank you. Okay. And also, you speak Japanese, right?
Oh yes, I'm pretty fluent.
So, like, how did you learn? Like, because you've only been in Japan for 1 year or something, right?
Yeah, I've only been living here technically for about a year. で、その時の前に、もうアメリカから勉強したんです。1年高校の時代、4年生の時にひらがなとカタカナ学んだ。そしてますません、そういうコンジュゲーション的な。で、そこからほとんど学んだのはお笑いの世界から。だからお笑いが学びやすいのは台本的な話し方じゃないです。だからみんなおすすめするのは不自然の番組、不自然の話する番組を見た方がいいです。不自然の言い方とかも学ぶことができるから。
じゃあそういう意味で言うとアニメとかはなんかパーフェクトな教材じゃないっていうか。
そうですね。アニメはなんか台本的な話だからみんな実際にそういう話し方はしないから、言葉とかは学ぶけど、なんか言い方とかはアニメはおすすめしない。だからみんななんかアニメで学んだ人たちはみんなアニメみたいに言い方するんですよ。
アメリカに住んでた時、
いや彼の日本語の発音めちゃくちゃ下手だよ。あんまり全然もう彼の喋り方は不自然だけどな。That guy's Japanese. I guess you could say it's like it's very like 50-60% natural. So I don't mean to like hate on people, okay? I'm just saying like when people say they're fluent, there's a lot of different things to say they're fluent. Like, can you read a book? Can you play a video game? Can you watch like a drama randomly or something on TV or the news and understand that? That guy's Japanese. There's a couple grammar mistakes in there, and also that his accent's pretty bad. So yeah, you gotta be careful when people say they're fluent in Japanese. Let's hear what this guy has to say in Japanese.
テレスハウスとリアリティショーとか 見た日本に越して日本人の友達作って居酒屋でサラリーマン会話練習しています。
サラリーマンに居酒屋で声かけたりする。
サラリーマンと、一緒に2杯生ビール飲んだら俺ら日本人になります。
酔ってる日本人に話しかけると結構楽しい。
そう、マジでペラペラになる。けど今酔ってないからペラペラじゃない。
4ヶ月しか日本にまだ住んでないって言ってたんですけど、どうですか4ヶ月で日本語は上手くなりました自分の？
そうと毎日友達と一緒に会話してるからちょっとだけ上手くなった。
まあちゃんと学校に行って。
Okay, yeah. So that guy's like accent was a lot better, but he said he was hanging out with a lot of Japanese people, so that makes sense. And he was watching Terrace House. The first guy, he was saying like you should watch comedy stuff and you shouldn't watch anime because it's all scripted. In my opinion, anything that you can get into is good, but if you can watch, like if you're not in Japan, if you can watch stuff where it's regular Japanese people talking, like a regular TV show, like a variety show where it's like people just shooting the shit, or YouTubers, or like hell, I mean, I like anime. I like watching Star Trek in Japanese and shit. So even though like the words might be a little bit different, it's still overall Japanese. So I think that if you have a good mix of realistic Japanese plus whatever is scripted that you're watching, it's fine. Like sky's the limit, you know. And we're coming up on Nick, and Nick is super fluent in Japanese, grammatically, vocabulary wise. Accent is perfect. Well, you'll see in a second. Let's get into it.
そしてたくさん日本のテレビを見て、やっぱねインプットやんないと絶対習得できないんで、まあそのアニメ好きだったらアニメを見ればいいし、テレビとか見て本とか読んで、
Yeah, same thing
や
I
っ
was
ぱたくさん
saying.
インプットやって、そして友達とか language partner を作ればいい。最初は大学生だったんで結構外人が多かったんですけど、でもその後そのコメディを始めて、それはもう本当に日本のお笑い芸人ばっかりだったんで、もう本当にもう毎日8時間ぐらいしか日本語聞いてないから。
日本に住んでて、長いこと住んでて、日本語が喋れるようになる人と喋れない人で分かれてるじゃないですか。喋れない人との違いは何だと思いますか？それは。
日本に来て、もう外国人の友達ばっかりと遊んだりとか、アメリカの番組とか見ると 100% 上手くならないから、それを全部もうゴミ箱に捨てる。悪いアドバイスかもしれないんですけど、外国人の友達を作んなくていいかもしれないですね。最初はね。その後は全然ありだと思いますけど。
確かに。だって僕もアメリカ行って英語勉強したかったら日本人じゃなくてアメリカ人の友達欲しいからね。
ね、しかも今こういう仕事してるからめっちゃ上手くなるでしょ、英語。いろんなね。
I mean, even though I live in Japan, I use English almost every single day.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't matter where you live. At the end of the day,
There's people who've lived here for 20 years and they still can't speak Japanese. It's so crazy. I don't understand it.
And some people just travel in Japan, then they speak Japanese and ask them, how did you learn? And they say like, just study. Like by myself, home, in your home country.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
if you think you're going to learn Japanese just from studying a textbook, that's wrong. You definitely have to listen a lot and speak a lot, but the studying is like the foundation, I guess.
Okay, thank you for watching.
Yeah, guys, I gotta say, oh wait, here, let's finish the video, and then I wanna chime in on the Japanese learning.
So far, how was it? That was interesting. America and Japan are completely opposite country. That's why I thought this video would be interesting. Also, I'm going to be in Los Angeles in January to interview Japanese people living in the United States.
Oh, that's really
I'm trying
cool.
to film
Nice.
one more videos in Los Angeles. So if you have any video idea that I need to cover in Los Angeles, please let me know in the comments. Okay,
That's
anyway,
awesome.
thank you for watching. If you like this video, click the like button.
Okay, so anyway, okay, let me bring up the microphone levels a bit. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think that I don't want to come off again. Like, I never want to come off like an elitist douchebag who's been here forever that's trying to gatekeep. I love the fact that new people are coming here, that more people have the chance to learn fluent Japanese as soon as they get here. I love the fact that people that probably couldn't come here before now can come here. And I mean, the whole thing is like Nick was saying, it's like you got to put in a lot of listening input. You can't do one of those things where you just go to a class a couple times a week. Like, you need to have Japanese constantly in the background. No subtitles, too. No subtitles in English. And, just constantly listening. Like, if you seriously want to learn Japanese, or any language for that matter, you got to be able to put in that daily. If you want to learn fast and like sound as close to native as possible, you want to do that, right? And you should do that. And don't hang out with foreign friends. I've seen that Michael the Michael guy before on a couple live streams, like Harry Boy's live stream, and Harry Boy's another guy like Takashi who does street interviews, and I always see that the Michael guy with other foreigners. I don't know if he hangs out with Japanese people, but it's like there's a huge difference in Japanese level and accent when you're hanging out with other foreigners. And I could tell, like Nick said, like he was around other Japanese people for like 8+ hours a day, and that's why you shouldn't move to Tokyo immediately if you didn't know Japanese before coming here, because Tokyo is so convenient and there's so many foreigners that are down to hang out, and it's so easy to make friends with English speakers. So you want to kind of put yourself in a situation where like I was in Chiba, there were no English speakers around me, so it was really good for my immersion the first couple years I was here, because I didn't have a smartphone. I didn't have a way to like constantly talk to English speakers. I was just in the pool and I was learning to swim as I was there. And but anyway, yeah, that's gonna be my reaction video for this. Did you guys like the video? Do you want to see me react to more stuff? Let me know in the comments down below. If there's a video specific that you want me to react to, make sure to put down the title in the comments, and I'll check it out. Maybe I'll react to it. And if you want to see more, let me know by saying, Dad, we want to see more in the comments. Smash the like button. Hello, everybody who was here during the premiere. Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. And, yeah, don't forget to check out the playlist for all the rest of these at the very end of the video. And, yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Otsukaresama deshita. Yeah, buddy.
It's time you bit the bullet and started caring about something with all your heart and energy. But you can't care about it if you're always holding yourself back in case it doesn't work out.